On 11th of November, after the election, I travelled to my first caucus after the election. I remember congregating with other new MPs at the Koori Lounge, my first time in the Koori Lounge. A couple of Pacific women who voted for me came up to congratulate me on my victory. They said, "Well done on your hard work. You've made Pacific people proud, and you're going to make a fine MP." But I quickly learnt as a new MP, try not to let this get to my head. They gave me their business cards and said to call if I needed their help, even for campaigning. Well, I was feeling pretty chuffed, and as I walked away, they wished me well and said, "God bless you, Su'a William Seal." True story. True story.
After 10 years in central government, Peseta Sam Lotu-Iiga, National MP for Maunga Kia and a former Minister of Pacific Peoples, Corrections, Ethnic Communities and Associate Minister of Health and Local Government, addressed Parliament for the last time in his valedictory statement on Tuesday evening in Wellington. I'm joined now live by Peseta to talk about his political career as well as where to from here. A very warm welcome. I was just about to say another name, but a very warm welcome to the show this morning, Peseta.
Talofa lava and talofa lava to all our listeners out there.
Well, one of the many highlights in a valedictory speech, which I had the pleasure of listening to, brother, and I loved it, hearing your heart and, tinged with emotion in that as well. How was it for you, firstly, Peseta, giving your farewell address surrounded by colleagues, family and friends?
Oh, look, mixed emotions. I mean, it's been an honour to represent Maunga Kia as well as Pacific people in Parliament. But it's also a little bit of tinge of sadness to leave. But I'm ready to move on. I also had, as you say, a number of supporters, friends, family, and particularly my wife Jules and my kids were there. But I also miss my dad's passed away, so I very much missed him on the day. He's been a big supporter. My mum, unfortunately, was ill and couldn't come down, and my daughter Samari, obviously, she's not with us. But it was mixed emotions, but it was a great day.
And on that note, our prayers are with you and the family for Mum at this time as well, Peseta.
Thank you.
Peseta, looking back over 10 years, talk to me about some of your fondest memories in Parliament or as a politician.
Oh, look, it's seeing people achieve out in our community. I think, there are a lot of little things, and I talked about it in my speech about what public service means to me. It means serving others, it means serving those in need. And, it was about helping people that needed your help. But having said that, also seeing the achievements of our children and, sports people, entertainers. It's always a pleasure and a privilege to be part of that. And I look back and I see how our kids, particularly NCA level 2, the rates for achievement have just gone up dramatically in the last 10 years. The number of Pacific people in jobs has gone up, to over 140,000 now. And, to see those things happen, and that's not just because of government, that's actually because of, the drive and the resilience and the spirit of Pacific people. But, government can help in those things. But, my highlights are definitely seeing and watching people, aspire and do well in life.
Peseta, when you look back over the 10 years, how has the sort of political landscape changed from the time when you first entered to, to yourself finally, saying farewell to politics?
I think what we've seen over the last few years. When I went in, I think my friend Alpito was there, and Lumanova was there. I think now we're seeing a new generation of Pacific people coming through. And that's on all sides of the house, and in all different forms of politics. Local government. I think we've got some really impressive local politicians up and down this country. And, they're the leaders that are out there making it happen. And, I encourage you to support them because they need support. They need your encouragement and they need a lot of love.
Peseta, in terms of, you've had a very successful career in the corporate world, in law as well. What, was the trigger for you to actually get into politics?
Yeah, politics is an interesting sort of career path. I wouldn't say I didn't grow up wanting to be a politician. I got involved, I think, at different levels of politics. I got involved with friends, and, a lot of people come and ask me, how did you get involved? I always say, look, go and talk to people that are involved in politics. Go and follow them around for a day and see what they do and how they do it. For me, it's about public service. It's about tautua. It's very much Pacific and certainly it's a Samoan, value and principle that you serve others, you serve those around you. It starts at home. You serve people at home, and then you serve your community, your wider community, whether you're a matai or a chief or a leader in your community. And then, ultimately being in Parliament's about serving our country, and that's been a great honour and a privilege for me. And I take a lot of those memories with me, but I'm ready to go, and we've got a bunch of new leaders coming through, and I'm pleased about that.
Peseta, when we talk about home, and of course how integral your family has been, watching the speech and when talking, especially about your dad and your mum and your wife and children, the lump in the throat. Can you talk to me more about that support, behind the public profile for you over the years?
Yeah, look, my wife Jules, I think, first and foremost, I must acknowledge she. It's been a real, for want of a better word, rock in influencer, and she makes sure that things go well at home. That while I'm away, and as a politician, you're away for long periods of time, and ensure that the kids are fed, they're clothed, and they're doing the things that our kids should be doing. And she also supports me in just a wide range of different ways. The text messages, the FaceTimes every night. And those are the things that keep me going and keep me driving forward. But going up from there, it's my parents, the sacrifice they made in coming to New Zealand. I understand that. And it's a story I think many out there share with me in terms of the migration story and aspirations to have, lead better lives. And you just don't do it for yourself, but you try and do it for others around you. And so, those, my parents and my siblings and, those sorts of things are very inspiring to me. And I couldn't do it without my church as well. We have many people that have prayed for me and that provides various support along the way, spiritual and moral support. And I think that's, again, that's a really critical part of keeping me level-headed, feet on the ground, and, focused on the future.
And I want to come back to that because, openly sharing, near the end of your valedictory statement with regards to the importance of your faith. But going back, in terms of Peseta, oh my gosh, I think the question just left. No. In terms of, being a husband and a father, how did you balance that, the roles at home with the responsibilities of the different portfolios and your responsibility to your electorate over the years?
Yeah, that's a really tough question. I think, that pressure built up, over a number of years. As I said, I have a wonderful wife and family who, sort of, how should I put it, fill the void that is sometimes left behind when you're away for long periods of time. You try and mix it in. For example, this morning, I know we had the interview at 8:40. I was driving my daughter over and I've just kissed her goodbye, and then I'm sort of popped in a side room at her school answering an interview, and then, go on to the next appointment or the next, thing in your day. You try and fit it around you. But I think, ultimately, as I said in my speech, public service does start at home. My first obligations are, to, first God, then family, and you've got to balance that. And sometimes that's a very difficult thing to do. But, having said that, we as a family made a call for me to retire and move on to the next thing. And I think that's, it's the right decision for us as a family. And, a lot of people, even my colleagues across the chamber, I was talking to my Labour friends, Opito and Carmel and Jenny and Porto, and, they were very supportive of the decision that I made, and they're very understanding of that. And, it's we all know the sacrifices that are made, but you've got to move on, and now's the right time.
Peseta, just before we finish off, the one thing I do want to, just touch on, with regards to being in the, public scrutiny, and of course yourself, public profile and cabinet positions, and we've seen a recent example with Matiria Tude being a seasoned MP, and as a result of something that she stood down, during corrections, I would say or assume that would be maybe one of the hardest times during your political career. What was going on behind the scenes for you, looking back, and how you dealt with that period in your political career?
Yeah, once again, you rely on those things that are steady and solid in your life, and that's your faith. A lot of prayers during that period, and your family always sticking by you. But look, people on the street, actually, they're more interested in what you're doing about some of these issues, and I think we got through that period quite well. Serco, ultimately, we're given notice to leave Mount Eden Prison. I think we got through those things, but those things don't. I think there's an old saying. It doesn't kill you. You go through it. It's very character building, and you focus on the things that actually make a difference. And in my speech, I talked about all the achievements that were done in the corrections portfolio. Setting up secure online learning, doubling the number of educational learning places in prisons, opening 4 new working prisons. And at the end of the day, it's about what are we doing every day to change people's lives, to improve people's lives. I think, in corrections, we do that every day. And it was an honour and a privilege to serve as their minister, and I'm very proud of the work that they do on a day-to-day basis.
Peseta, now that the curtain has come down, can you tell us a little bit about your new role, and maybe any future aspirations or plans still in the pipeline for you, or goals to achieve apart from the Ironman?
Yeah, no, I've got to ask my wife about the Ironman, but look, I'm moving into a role at MIT, at the Manukau Institute of Technology, where I'll be the Deputy Chief Executive dealing with Pacifico issues. We are I say we, MIT is the biggest educator of Pacific people in this country. 5,000 Pacific people go through that institution every year. It's about getting, people the skills, the education, the training that they need in order to go on to great jobs. And, I'm really excited about that. I think, we can make a real difference, not just to people in the Manukau area, but right across the Auckland region in New Zealand. Pacific people, once educated with training, I think we've got huge potential to make a difference in this country. So MIT will play a big part of that. But, I'll also have other roles in the community. I think there may be some roles that I can play. Certainly, maybe on a board position somewhere, and I'll sort of watch the space. I'm working on a few things that where I can at least make a contribution to those around me.
And of course, for the last 10 years, the great contribution not only to your community but your country. A very big thank you, Peseta Lotu-Iiga. It sounds, I was just going to say, it sounds like you're in chambers right now, but it's actually sounds like a classroom, quite similar in noise there. But
yeah, it's a primary school, but no, I might have to excuse myself. I've been given the hurry up.
Yeah, okay. Well, on that note, a very big thank you again, Peseta Lotu-Iiga, and we look forward to hearing more from you in the future. Thank you so much. God bless, and tō whāsui fua.
And thank you, Martin. Thank you to all those Pacific people out there that certainly gave me a lot of support and encouragement over the years. I'm very appreciated by myself and my family.
Thank you so much. God bless.